Today, I am trying to solve a problem I have on my business, and this problem is frequent stockouts on FBA inventory. So what happens when FBA inventory goes out of stock or low stock? Even though I have FBM enabled and ready to go, Amazon would penalize the visibility of my product in search results. So I will lose rank, I will lose impressions, and as a result, I will lose sales. And this usually happens when your brand is growing and you can't anticipate or you can't demand forecast the right way. So I need to always be ahead and get any alert or alarm. So this is what I'm trying to do today. Um, right. So I'm using Claude for my tech AI stack, and I've been using AI almost on everything lately. And as like everyone else, I can't keep up with all the updates. So let's start with what we are doing today. So the first thing is refining the problem statement. So something I learned in my corporate career is the 6W2H methodology and the YY approach, which you start with a vague problem statement, something like, I'm losing sales because of stockouts. And then you start asking yourself all kind of questions until you get to a more detailed problem statement that you can then use for root cause analysis. So I actually built a Claude skill to do this for me, and this is what we are going to do now. Right, so let's start. I'm using Whisper Flow for my AI. It's amazing. It accelerates my um, inputs. Right. Hey, use that detailed problem solving skill to turn a vague problem statement into a detailed one. My problem statement is I've been losing sales and rank on Amazon because of FBA stockouts. Let's see. Right. So yeah, now it's reading the skill. All right, we are back. So let's see. What exactly is happening versus what should be happening? Are you going out of stock completely? Or is Amazon just flagging low inventory and suppressing your listing before you hit zero? And are we talking a single SKU, your entire catalog, specific variants? And then when did this start? How and how often is it happening? Is this a recurring pattern across multiple replenishment cycles, or did it get worse at specific point in time? All right. So let's answer the first question. Right. So on the first question, we go out. So first, Amazon will send us a low stock. Actually, no. Amazon will show a low inventory tag on the listing. So if I don't go into Seller Central every day to check, I will never know. Second, when we go out of stock completely, it's just few days after having the low inventory. So there's not enough time to react and send inventory to FBA. Yes, sometimes they suppress the listing, especially if it turns into an FBM. The Prime badge will be taken away, and the delivery dates will be worse, which will impact conversion rate. This is mainly on our best sellers. So we have two SKUs who are selling so fast, and it usually happens on these two. And then on the second question, so it happens more often. So it happens every month or couple months. Um, and it gets worse when there's a spike in sales for any reason, for high efficient PPC campaigns or for any organic trends or weather conditions. So it's yeah. All right. Let's see. That was a mouthful. All right. Let me push on a couple things before. So let's read. You said the low inventory tag does not give you enough time to react and send to FBA. What does your current replenishment trigger looks like? reorder point you have set, or are you purely acting to around choice? And do you know roughly what your FBA inbound lead time is? So that's the first question. Second, you mentioned this happens every month or couple months and gets worse during demand spikes. How long do the stockouts typically last when they hit? All right. So on the first question, the reorder point is usually when I find out that I need to send inventory. FBA inbound lead time could be anything between um, a week to 3 or 4 weeks during like high demand seasons. The thing is, it depends on if I have inventory on hand to send to FBE or do I need to plan production. If I need to plan production, that would probably add another 2 to 3 weeks on top of that. Now, on the second question, when we stock out, we usually stock out for a few days, and by stock out we mean we are out of FBA inventory, but we can still fulfill on FBM. We never had a complete uh, stock out, like blackout stock out before, because we always keep FBM inventory on the site. So Claude came back with two more questions. On the FBM fallback, when you flip your FBM during an FBA stockouts, what actually happens to your sales velocity? You mentioned losing the Prime badge and worse delivery dates. Do you have a sense of how much conversion drops during those FBM days? Even a rough feel, have the sales a third. All right. So on the first question, the FBM fallback, yes, sales go down, and like I can get the data, but roughly I would say, yeah, it's closer to the third than the half. So let's say the third. So yeah. The second question was on inventory positioning. When a stockout happens, is it typically because you ran out of FBA inventory and didn't have finished goods on hand to send? Or do you usually have finished goods sitting somewhere but just didn't ship them in time? This is a forecasting problem. You didn't make enough or a replenishment. So it's a mix of both. Sometimes we have inventory on hand and we didn't send on time. Other times we need to schedule production because we don't have enough inventory in our pipeline. All right, so two more questions. On the had inventory but didn't send in time scenario, when that happens, what stopped you from sending earlier? Is it that you didn't know you needed to monitoring gap, or you knew but the shipment creation logistics took longer than expected? So, with full transparency, I would say this is because I am not organized enough. I have so many open loops on the business side that it takes me time to get back to this topic and figure out that I need to send. We can consider this a monitoring gap. Now, on the second question, on scope and impact, you mentioned two best-selling SKUs. Do you know roughly what combined monthly revenue those two SKUs generate? Okay. Yeah. Yes. So let's just for this video, we will not share accurate, correct numbers. But let's say these two combined make around $10,000 a month in sales. Correct. So Claude being Claude, it's saying um, what I said about not being organized enough is a people statement, not a process statement. And what, yes, so there is no automated or systematic replenishment trigger in place. Correct. Yes, it depends. The process depends entirely on me manually checking Seller Central, which means when you are context switching across multiple open loops, correct? So one final question. Which SKU or conditions are not affected? You said it's concentrated on your two best sellers. Are you slower moving, staying stock fine, or do they just? So For the other SQs, I would say they are slow moving, that they never triggered a stock out before. All right. So Claude has everything it needs. It's giving me the interim. All right, let's see. So interim problem statement, this is like the almost final detailed problem statement that you can then take and use for root cause analysis and then deploying root actions. So let's see in this case. So it's telling me FBA stockouts are occurring on the two best-selling Jules SKUs on a recurring basis, roughly every 1 or 2 months, driven by a combination of two failure modes: finished goods not shipped to FBA in time despite being on hand, correct? And production not being scheduled early enough to meet demand. When stockouts hit, the listing shifts to FBM, losing the prime badge and degrading delivery dates, which reduces conversion by roughly two-thirds compared to normal. Stockouts typically last a few days per occurrence. Combined, these two SQs generate approximately 10K a month in healthy revenue, meaning each stockout event puts a material portion of that at risk. The problem is isolated to these two SQs. Slower movers stay in stock because their replenishment window is forgiving relative to their velocity. There is no systemic replenishment trigger in place. The current process depends entirely on manual seller central checks, which fail when attention is divided across multiple business contacts. FBA inbound lead times ranges from 1 to 4 weeks, depending on season, and production lead times add another 2 to 3 weeks when finished goods aren't on hand, creating a total pipeline of up to 7 weeks with no early warning system to match it. Does this accurately capture the situation, or is anything missing or wrong? That's correct. So that's correct. It captures the situation, and I'm ready to move to the next step. Now, before this, we will stop here. So this video will be around how to generate the interim problem statement, and then in the next video we will go over how to use this interim statement to generate a detailed problem statement and the root cause analysis. And if we have enough time, we can do the root cause action as well. Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see you in the next video.